we are live. It's 6 o'clock. They've done run us out of Scott County. We didn't have no electric up the stand building, so I drove over to Knoxville to come see my cousin. Gary Sweet's going to share his story here this evening. And boy, I tell you what, I don't know what's fixing to happen. Don't know what we're fixing here, but I guarantee it's going to be good. I've been feeling like Ric Flair all week. Just, woo, baby. So we've had prayer. Man, God's done met with us here this evening. And just like I do every week, this ain't about me. This is about letting y'all hear other people's story, hear hope and encouragement and strength. I mean, before he's even got on, we've already had people reaching out. And listen, I'm just telling you, this is real, folks. This ain't made up. This ain't no story you heard somewhere. This is the real deal. So I just want you to know this is my cousin. I love him, and I'm going to turn it over to him. We're just going to go ahead and get it started. Hey, thank every one of you for tuning in. Like, leave a comment, share this thing out, tell your friends about it. Hey, just listen. We're going to get some experience and some strength and some hope in us. So, Gary, come do it, brother. I love you.
Love you, brother. Hey, good evening, guys, ladies, gentlemen, whatever out there. I just want to, first of all, I really want to thank God, first of all, for having this opportunity tonight, this evening, to share my testimony. I'm going to share a little bit about my life, my testimony, but I'm going to share a lot about what Jesus has done in my life. I've struggled with drug addiction over 20-something years of my life. I've been in and out of different prisons over the years. Started going to jail at a very young age. Started using drugs at a very young age, and took me many years to finally surrender to God. That's all it took was just me taking the first step and surrender. And I was under conviction for many years of my life while I was using drugs, and I knew that. I knew that God had a plan for me. I knew that there was something good that God had for me, but it was all up to me to surrender, to accept what God had in store for me. And I thank God today that He kept His hand up on me just long enough, just to keep me safe, just long enough that I surrendered and I give it all to Him. But first of all, like I said, I want to thank God for this opportunity. Thank Randall for driving over to Knoxville to let me have this opportunity, and hopefully that I can say or do something tonight that will give somebody out there that's struggling with drug addiction or whatever they're struggling with. It don't necessarily have to be drug addiction. I mean, we all at some point in our life, we've all had something that we struggled with, whether it was maybe it was a porn, or maybe it was whatever it may have been. Money can be a addiction. Have to make money easy. Whatever your struggle is, I promise you, I know a man that can change your life. His name is Jesus tonight, okay? And I just want to tell you about this man just for a minute. It ain't nothing that Gary Sweet done. I promise you that. I took the step. I surrendered to God, and I continue to seek God daily. But I tell you what, it's all God that's done this work in me. He's changed the way I think. He changed everything about me. I just thank God for what He's done in my life. And, I just want to share just a little bit about where I'm at today and what I do. It was just a few years ago, I think it's been about 6-7 years ago. I was actually incarcerated at Knox County Jail. Let's see, it might have been, about 6 or 8 years ago, I guess, maybe 9. I don't know for sure. But anyway, but there's a few special men in my life that I would like to just mention their name. I hope they don't get mad at me for doing that. But there's a special man, gentleman, his name is Roger Post. He is a very special man in my life. He never dealt with no kind of drug addiction or nothing like that, but he's been a minister for many years, and he had just had a certain way to talk to us men out there. And I just thank that man. I think Steve Humphreys, Dave Elkins, and Jeff Hunter, which is now Jeff Hunter's now the chaplain at Knox County Jail, and those 4 or 5 men that I mentioned right there had made a very huge impact on my life and on my getting my life together. So I'm just going to give you a little testimony, a little bit about my life and how all the drug addiction that started out in my life, and a little bit about my family history and background. First of all, as growing up in South Knoxville, I'd been around a bunch of negative things as far as drugs, fighting, different, just not your everyday, what you would think a family should be. I'm just going to be honest with you, okay? Some may not like the things I say, but you know what? I'm going to say what God puts on my heart to say. But anyway, I had a lot of negativity in my life. We've had a fairly big family. We had a lot of family, uncles, aunts, cousins, and all of them. All that I can remember was on some sort of drug or alcohol. All of my life, I had very, very few positive influences in my life growing up early. So to me, using drugs, getting high, partying, fighting, all that was normal. To me, it was. But, it wasn't a lot of love in our family. I mean, in my immediate family, my mom, my dad, my sister, we loved one another. But outside of that, it was more of a fight. It was more of a, it was drugs, alcohol, brothers and sisters fighting, family fighting one another. And and like I said, they were using drugs. They were just a lot of negativity. So, that was most of my, elementary years and up into middle school. And then I got up into high school, and we started, I played football several years, and I had a leg injury about, I think it was my sophomore year in high school. And, at that time, I'd never done any kind of really drugs. I drank a little beer here and there, with my buddies or whatever. And then went from that. We started. We'd smoke some marijuana on occasions, and then in the late '80s and early '90s, powder cocaine and stuff was around in South Knoxville. It was pretty. I mean, that was pretty much the go-to drug then. So I started messing with that a little bit. And by then I'd say I was probably a junior in high school. And I had a knee injury, had a bad knee. I could go to the doctor at a young age, and they prescribed me pain pills. And I started getting this medicine. It was called the Somas. I know you have heard of them. And that was the drug of my choice for 20-something years. And it made a mess of my life, just to be honest with you. Those pills made a mess of my life. I started out, like I said, I started using those pills at a young age. I was probably 17, 18-year-old. And when I started using those pills, it was just a few here and there. I'd take a few, and then I'd be good for a while. But of course, as time grew, it took a lot more to get me the way I wanted to be. So I ended up over 20, like I said, like 22, 24 years, I was addicted to those pills. And I ended up at the end, I was taking over 60 of those pills a day. I would start out in the morning, I'd take 8 or 10 of them pills, and then in just a few hours, I'd take 8 or 10 more and all this was a muscle relaxer. I mean, it could have stopped my heart any time. It could have killed me at any time. But I continued. I started going to jail, started going in and out of jail. Then I got a prison sentence. I went to prison. I went to federal prison in 2002, and I got a DUI in Cades Cove in 2002, and got 15 months in federal prison. At that time, while I was there serving the time, I thought, I said, well, I got it figured out now. I'm going to get out and I'm going to do this. And I think I can do it without any trouble. And so I continued. I got out. And as soon as I got out, I went right back to where I left off at. If nothing else, I was worse. I was worse off then than I'd ever been in my life. So so I was out there. I guess I was out maybe a year or so, and just running wide open, continuing doing the things I was doing. Ended up catching some more charges. Ended up doing some time in the county jail. And after I'd done the time in the county jail, got back out again. I thought I had it all figured out. I was going to do it this way. I was going to do this. I was just going to use these pills on a certain, on the weekends or whatever. So as I continued, I caught more charges, went back to jail, ended up going to state prison in 2008. And during that time, in 2008, I went to Brushy Mountain Penitentiary, and then they closed the prison down. They sent me down to Morgan County. Anyway, I finished my time up, got back out there again. I had it figured out. I knew how I was going to do it. I knew how I was going to stay clean. I was going to still use drugs in my mind. I was still going to get high, but I was going to do it where I didn't get in trouble. So I continued. I got picked up at the prison, and that very day we came out. The first stop we made was at the dope house. And I said, I mean, at that time I was going right back. Well, then again, I ended up worse than I was the time before I got arrested. So I continued on, and I think I might have been out maybe a year, maybe less than a year, maybe 11 months. I don't know. But anyway, I caught new charges, sent me back to jail. I actually went to, this time I was looking at this time right here, I was looking at 17 years in state prison when I got arrested. I went to court, and they said that's what I was facing, a 17-year sentence. And so, of course, first thing if I just get one more chance, if I can just get one more chance, I'm not gonna do this anymore. I know I'd get on the phone with my family. I had it made. I had it figured out again. I'm not gonna do this again. I've got it. I'm just gonna. I'll never take drugs again. I'll never do this again if I can get out. If I don't get this 17 years, I'm gonna do it. I won't do it again. So anyway, finally went to court. I stayed in there for a year. I went to court back and forth over a year's time. So I ended up, they give me a deal. I got a 2-year probation sentence, and I had to pay a bunch of fines, bunch of court costs and everything. And so I got out, and I had a 2-year probation sentence. Okay. So I got out. Remember, I just said, during that time at the county jail, though, let me back up just for a minute. During the time at the county jail is when I became, I was on lockdown. I was in jail for the first 97 days. I was on lockdown. They had me maxed out, or, in max. I was locked down 23 hours a day. And then I was trying to figure out a way to get out of this. So I filled out things to go to work. I filled out this, filled out that. Well, finally, this group of men come in, and they was like, we're going to start this new program, and hopefully we can. I mean, it's been approved. We're going to start it. We're going to move some men over here to another pod. It's an open pod. It's going to, we're going to have these Bible classes. We're going to have just all this. It was a Christian-based program, which it's known as the Focus Program at Knox County Jail and throughout different prisons across the state. A lot of different county jails. But anyway, I said, man, that's a way for me to get out of here. That's a way for me to get out of this one-man cell locked down all the time. So I filled out an application. Well, in the meantime, I got approved for that program, but in the meantime, I got released I got the max hold off of me, and they sent me over to the same building, but they sent me as a inmate worker. So by that time, when they started moving all the focus guys into the pod, I changed my mind. I didn't want to go to the Christian pod. I didn't want to go to the, to do the Bible studies. I didn't want to do none of that. So, well, needless to say, they said, well, you have no choice. You've been accepted. You're going. So, you're going. So anyway, I was mad. I wanted to keep my job. I wanted to continue to be, have my little freedom, whatever they give you. So I went on in. I didn't have no choice. They put me in the pod, and so as a couple, we started having our classes. We got put in our little classes and different things, and as time started moving, I started thinking about some things, and God started working, dealing with my heart heavy. It's like, it's just things started. He just started showing me things and letting me see things I'd never seen, as far as having a clear mind and thinking about how, just how good God really is. So things started, I started really enjoying the class. I started really getting into the Bible reading and the different studies that we did, and started learning some stuff. I didn't know nothing about God, or I didn't know nothing about it. And I was like, man, this is some good stuff. So anyway, I continued. I'd get on the phone. I was excited about being out, being a different person, and getting back out on the streets, and letting, my main thing in my mind was letting everybody see what a different person I was. And eventually the time came, I got released, and I got out, and I did well for a little while. Okay. But remember now, I had this all figured out. I'd asked God into my heart in jail. I'd asked God to help me with these things, and He was. But I got back out. I got my freedom again, and guess where I went? I started back down that same road. I started maybe just not diving right into it, but I started going around just an old friend or two, just drinking a beer every once in a while, or maybe stopping by and just getting me one pill, or maybe just doing this or maybe doing that. But let's just get real with it, okay? It went from the pills I were doing to a lot stronger pill. It went from just one pill every once in a while to 4 or 5 pills a day. Let me tell you, it is true when they say when you leave it and you get cleaned up and you return, you will be 7 times worse off than you ever been in your life. I was at the lowest point of my whole life at this time. After I'd made all these promises to God, I came right back out from where I just had a clean mind. I just had my heart. I had asked God into my heart. I knew what I was talking about, and what I do, I went right against the things that I said I'd never do again, and I was continuing to go back down that same road. So I ended up in being sick. I ended up with a real bad respiratory infection. I ended up in the hospital. I ended up they were saying I had these heart disease. They ended up saying all this stuff. They couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. But I tell you what was wrong with me. I went against what I told God. That's what's wrong with me. God was getting my attention, and that's the best way He knew how. He had me laying over here in the UT hospital, and the doctors come in. They said, we need you to stay the night. We think you've got this heart disease or some kind of heart condition, and we've got to check further into it. No, it wasn't. It was I needed to get my heart right with God. That's where I needed to get. Is right there was the problem. And God let me know right then, said, if you don't get your hiney cleaned up and stay cleaned up, you got 2 places you're going to go. You're either going to go to hell or you're going to go back to jail. And that's the time I made my mind up to get clean. I went straight to at that time, it was my girlfriend. It wasn't even my wife. We'd been together 12 years, and we was so far trying to beat the system so bad, trying to beat the government so bad. We was just doing everything we can so I could spend every penny I got on drugs. But I tell you what, I went to her and I said, look here, either I'm going to end up dead or I'm going to end up back in prison. I've got to find a church. I've got to get in church. And she said, I'll do whatever it takes. I'll do whatever it takes. She was tired of being my chauffeur to the dope house. She was tired of me waking her up at 7 o'clock in the morning, sicker than a dog, and having to get to this pill house. She was tired of all that. And so was I. But you know what? I know a man that could change. I knew a man that could change me, and that was Jesus Christ. And that day, the day that I told her that, we went to church. We started visiting different churches. Did I get clean right away? No, I did not. It took time. But I tell you what, when I surrendered to God and I went to the altar that night, I never will forget the day. I never will forget the time that Jonathan Claiborne was singing when Mercy walked in. Hey, I tell you what, I get excited right now when I'm hearing it. Lord God, I tell you, when Mercy walked in, he saved me that night. And I tell you what, it's the best thing that ever happened to me. I've never relapsed, not one time. I've never took another drink of alcohol, not one time. And I tell you what, the best thing you could ever call on is a man named Jesus. I ask you right now, if you are in need of anything right now, that's the man you need to call on. It ain't a 12-step program, which I think it's all good if that's what you need. But the only thing you need today is a man named Jesus. And I ask you, Lord, I'm telling you, if you're out there and you're struggling with any kind of addiction, if you're struggling with anything at all, that's the name you need to call on today. You'll never be the same. You'll never think the same. I tell you what, it's the best thing that ever happened to me. I thank God today that's not me no more. I've never relapsed. I've never took another drink of alcohol. I don't go nowhere near those type of things, and I never will. I tell you what, they always say, how you know you won't relapse? I said, because it ain't going in my mouth. It ain't going down my throat, and I ain't going around where it's going to be. You know, I just thank God. I just thank God that he kept his hand upon me just long enough to get my attention. Just long enough to get my attention. I tell you one thing right now. I believe if I didn't listen to that wake-up call he gave me, that last one he gave when I was laying over in that hospital, I had to listen to that wake-up call. I really believe I'd be a dead man today. I don't believe that a prison cell would be in my home again. I believe that I would be a dead man today. So, you know, I thank God. And I just want to encourage anybody out there that's struggling with any kind of addiction, that's struggling with any kind of porn or whatever your struggle is. I don't care what it is. If it's getting the best of you, if you're in a place where it's costing you, if it's in a place, something between you and God, it needs to be removed. And the only man that can remove that is Jesus Christ. You know, they got and look here, y'all can take it how you want to. You can listen to it. You can turn it off. You can do whatever you want to, but I'm just going to be honest with you now. You know, during this time when I'm so deep in my addiction, you know, I had people telling me, you need to go to the methadone clinic. You need to go to the Suboxone clinic. You need to go to this clinic. You need to go there. I said, look here, I ain't doing it. And I'm telling you, I ain't doing it. I never did do it. I'm not against anybody that has done it. If that's what you need, that's fine. That's on you. But I tell you one thing. The only thing I needed to trade in my drugs for Jesus Christ. That's the thing I chose to fill the void in my heart. It wasn't a methadone tablet. It wasn't a Suboxone strip or whatever. It was Jesus Christ. And that's all you need today. I don't care if you're on on it 20 years. If you truly get your heart right with God, I promise you, he'll get you off of it. He will get you off of it. It takes you taking the step. It takes you doing the work. But I tell you what, God will be right beside you all the way. And, you know, just like I said, I live by the verse of Philippians 4:13. It says, I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me. I can do all things. It means I can do it. You can do it. We can do it. He said all things, not some things. He said, well, I'm going to help you do this, but I ain't going to help you do that. I'm going to help you do it. It's all things through Jesus Christ. He will help you through all things. And I lived for many, many months. It was rough. And hey, I ain't going to sit here and lie to you. Today, sometimes it gets tough. There's times in my life there's days that, that you might be in a situation or a place that the old devil will try to creep up on you, but you got to be ready. You got to be standing. You got to have your full armor on every day. You got to be willing to fight. Don't tuck tail and run. You got to be willing to fight. I've walked through my garage many afternoons, many a days. I ain't going to sit here and lie to you. I've never had a thought of drugs or alcohol again, because that'd be a lie. There was several days that I've been out working in the sun, out around my house or whatever, and I walked through the cool garage, and there'd be a chair sitting there, and you know what? The devil would say, "Boy, wouldn't a good cold beer taste good about right?" But you know what I got to do? I got to keep on. That one beer wouldn't be enough. And I tell you what, next thing I knowed, I'd be at the pill house buying me a pill. I can hide anything from anybody, but I can't hide it from Jesus Christ. And that's all that matters to me today. It don't matter to me if I can fool you. It don't matter to me whether I can or I can't fool you. But I tell you what, I can't fool Jesus Christ, and I ain't going to try it. There's one thing that I always said. I'm going to tell you right now. There's one always be. And I'm gonna be real. I'm gonna be either cold or I'm gonna be hot. I'll never be lukewarm. And right now I'm hot. I'm on fire, and I'm gonna continue to be on fire. It tells you in the Bible, "Minded man is unstable in all his ways." You can't be double-minded in no way. You can look at that scripture a lot of different ways, but the way I look at it, I can only be one way. I can only be one mind. My mind's on Jesus, and I'm going to continue. And I just pray. I ask any one of you, anybody, if you ever want free of the addiction or free of whatever you're struggling with, the true answer today is Jesus Christ. And that's what it's about. It's about Jesus Christ. My story ain't about I've been there. I've been through a lot. I've seen a lot. But I ain't proud of none of that. I'm proud that I got Jesus Christ in my heart today. I'm proud that I finally learned enough about Jesus Christ that I know saved. I know if I died today, I'd spend eternity in heaven. And that's what we got to look for. Yeah, we life here. We want to stay out of jail. We want to stay out of trouble. We want to continue. We want to continue in. And have a good life here, but where do we want to spend eternity at? That's the question today. Where do we want to spend eternity? I just said I can't thank God enough for what He's done for me. I wished right now that I could fix this drug epidemic here. I've got several close family members right here that I see each and every day struggling from drug addiction. It breaks my heart to see, but I think and I look and I just look at them and say, man, what's it going to take? But then Jesus reminds me, what did it take? What did it take for you? I always put myself. I never put anybody down, any of the drug addicts down, or any of the people that's struggling with a certain thing, because I was one of those. I got a place in my heart for anybody that struggles with any kind of addiction or whatever. A lot of people, once they change, they think the world should have changed, but that ain't the way it is. But I tell you what, I pray for all the people out here struggling, not just my family, but I pray for anybody out here struggling with this drug addiction. There's a lot more going on than it was 8 or 10 years ago when I was, using the drugs. They might have been going on, but I just wasn't a part of that time. Them drugs. But young kids nowadays are ODing and dying. I'm talking about that haven't even lived a life yet. I've got close family members that's, not even tasted life really good yet. And they're so lost right now in addiction. It's unreal. I love them. They're dear to me. They're close to me, but I can't fix them. It's going to take them to realize that there's only one fix to it. I promise you this is Jesus Christ. I can sit here all day and I can tell you can do this and you can do that, but until you get Jesus Christ in your heart, it's not going to be a victory. It's going to be, you may be clean for a while. The statistics they don't lie. And I promise you, you'll have to have something to fill the void, whether it's another drug, whatever it is. But I hope you choose Jesus Christ to fill the void, because that's what it takes. If you want true victory, if you want to be victorious, you need to choose Jesus Christ today. And he's all you need to get this, to get through this drug addiction or whatever you're struggling with. Again, I'd just like to thank God for giving me the opportunity to share. That's just a little piece of my story. But the gist of it, the part of it is that Jesus Christ is still saving today. He's still healing today. He's no different than he was yesterday. He's the same today, and he'll be the same tomorrow. He'll be the same forever. And I'm no better than you. He saved me. He brought me up out of addiction, and he'll do it for you. I promise you. You surrender all to God, and he'll do wonderful works in your life. Thank you.
Amen. Son of a gun. Hey, a man that size ain't got a that right now. If you don't like it, tell him about it. Hey, I was back there at the refrigerator, no jokes, but I was looking, and on this sticker, it says, what a blessing to be able to get up each day and try it all over again. And that's what we's telling y'all. Man, he told you all about the bottom, being in prison. Left out that a man used to be in prison. They used to send him every chance they got. Now he beats the door to go in and talk to other men inside the jails. And to be able to talk about what God's done in his life and help other men that is where he used to be at. What a blessing that is. So, hey, listen, I love every one of you. We thank you. Like, share, comment, send this thing out. Tell you know they're struggling. Hey, the real deal is on here. We're going to be back next week. I can't give a name out because I ain't got in contact with her yet, so it'll just be a surprise who it's going to be. But, hey, I love every one of you. We're going to get off here, and I'm going to fellowship with my family a little bit. And I thank you all for watching. Love every one of you.
Yeah, I left that part out, didn't I?
I never know if this thing's off or not.